Welcome to the Code with Jason meetup. Tonight we're going to be working on this Vim plugin that I've been working on for a while. If you've been watching my videos on YouTube, you might have seen a couple sessions where I worked on this. For anybody who hasn't seen it yet, I will explain what it is. So it's a Vim plugin that integrates with ChatGPT. The idea is that you can do kind of ChatGPT assisted TDD. I kind of figured out this really interesting workflow, interesting to me at least, where I can tell ChatGPT to write me a test, and then I can run the test, and then based on the failure message, ChatGPT can write the code that will make the test pass, and then I'll run the test again. There's another failure message. I'll give that to ChatGPT. We just repeat that until the test passes, and then I have ChatGPT write me a new test. So I thought that's a pretty neat workflow because it puts most of the mental burden on ChatGPT, thereby lightening my mental burden and making programming easier for me. But it's a little bit tedious because you have to tab back and forth between your editor and the ChatGPT window in the browser, copy paste, all that stuff. So I'm like, what if this all just integrated into my IDE, which in my case is Vim? So that's what I'm working on, and I'll show you guys what I have so far, and I'll show you where I'm at with it right now and what we're going to look at tonight. IDE, yeah, whatever. Okay, I shall share my screen. Okay, and because this is a Vim plugin, a NeoVim plugin specifically, it's all going to be Python. I'm not historically a Python guy. Maybe you guys aren't Python people either. That's fine. Because what I'm hoping to convey is technology agnostic principles. Okay. So let's do a little demo. I'm going to get two tmux panes going here. All right. Who is familiar with tmux and who doesn't know what tmux is? Okay. Raul, are you not yet familiar with tmux?
Nope.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So tmux is this nifty terminal program where you can have various sessions and windows and panes. So it's kind of like this nested hierarchical thing. You got sessions, windows, and panes. So what we're looking at right now is one window with two panes. And then I can switch to this other window, switching back and forth between two windows right now. And then you can have multiple sessions. Like let's say I have, I don't know, my personal stuff in this section, in this session, and then some work stuff in a different session, something like that. Anyway, we just have one session right now. We have these two panes. And for me, I often like to have a test in my left pane and I run the tests in the right pane. More precisely, I do my coding in the left pane. I run my tests in the right pane. So I'm going to do a little demo of that. I'm going to use my plugin to say, write me an RSpec test that gives factors for numbers. For example, when given 8, the program returns 1, 8 and 2, 4, because those are the different factors of the number 8. So we'll see what ChatGPT gives us. Not really ChatGPT, the OpenAI API, but I'm just going to say ChatGPT. Okay. So this is kind of what I would expect. And so my plugin can now run this test. GPT run test. Okay, so now over there in the right pane, my test has been run. It says cannot load such file factor. That's not surprising because there is no file called factor. This is just something that ChatGPT made up just now. So in order to make this failure message go away, we're going to need some actual code behind this. But we're not going to write it. We're going to ask ChatGPT to write it. So we'll run this command that says GPT send test result. What that's going to do is take this stuff on the right pane and send that to ChatGPT along with some instructions. And what we should get back is some code. Indeed, we do. And my program accepted that code. My Vim plugin accepted that code and put it into the editor. What this whole program was not smart enough to do was to actually, well, actually, hang on a second. Okay, let's run this again. Okay, so I'm going to run the test. We'll see what happens. Okay, it still says cannot load such file factor because it's really supposed to be require relative instead of require. So let's change that. I'll just change it manually. Okay, and let's see what we get then, what we get now. Okay, I think that was my mistake. Okay, now we get a different error. Expected 1.8 and 2.4, and we got nil. That's not surprising because this factors of method doesn't return anything. So once again, we'll run this send command to send the content of that right pane to GPT, and now we get an error. So this brings us to where I am in the development process. The key part of this error is at the very bottom, it says file is loaded in another buffer. In order to understand this error, we have to slow down a minute and think of some certain things. So I'll take you now. We're going to switch modes now. We were in demonstration explanation mode. Now we're going into the actual code for the plugin, and we're going to talk about what's there. I have this test. I have this test file. And my test file has a few tests in it. But here's what I'm working toward. I have these, I have this comment here. Because when I encountered this bug, it forced me to stop and say, like, hang on, wait a second. What are all the possible different execution paths through this code? Like, what are the different scenarios that we might encounter? So in Vim, we're going to have to learn a little bit of terminology here, but in Vim, right now I have these two tabs open. These two tabs here. Each one of these is called a buffer. If I close this and just open up a new file, hey, this is a buffer. That's the word that Vim uses for the place where your content goes. Okay. So we send a request to the OpenAI API, and we get back a response. That response includes two things: a file name and some code associated with that file name. So if I say, give me a Ruby program called stuff.rb, we'll get back this. Okay. And with this response, we got two things. We got stuff.rb and we got puts hello world. That happens with every response we get. So that's what's explained on line 19 here. GPT gives us a file name and some code associated with that file name. And here are the possible scenarios. Either the current buffer is the only buffer, or the current buffer is not the only buffer. Those are the two high-level scenarios. So what I mean by that is, like, right now, the current buffer is the only buffer. There's no other tabs open. But if I do, like, now I have two tabs open. I have two buffers. So right now I'd say the current buffer is not the only buffer because I have two buffers open currently. Okay. And if anybody gets behind at any point, just interrupt me and tell me to explain it better. Okay, so out of these two possibilities, current buffer is the only one or it's not the only one, there are possible scenarios under that. So if the current buffer is the only buffer, it may be that it's empty, or it could be that it's not empty. And at the risk of stating the obvious, so this buffer is empty right now, and then give me stuff.rb. And now it's going to not be empty. And then I'll say, like, change my class to my thing. Okay. Now we're working with a non-empty buffer, and this works a little bit differently. Okay, so it's either empty or not empty. In the case that the current buffer is not the only buffer, either the target file name matches the current buffer or it doesn't. Okay, so let's start fresh again. We're going to say, okay, give me a file called rick.rb. Sometimes it takes longer than others. Okay. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, Rickroll. Okay. Now we'll do another one. Give me a, okay, let's do this. Change rick.rb to include more lyrics. So I'm expecting that this will just change the current file because it'll see that rick.rb matches this currently open file. Waiting. Okay, it didn't do a good job, but it replaced the contents of the current file. Now I'll say, give me a file called chase.rb. And my expectation now, yep, it opened a new tab. But then I think the buggy scenario right now, we are slowly being rickrolled, is when I say, fixed the lyrics for rick.rb. I'm not sure that this will work. The suspense is killing me. Okay. So that, in fact, did not work. So going back to here, in the case where the current buffer is not the only buffer and the target file name does not match the current buffer, that scenario does not work. Let's check something real quick. Change chase.rb to include something about Chevy Chase. Let's see if this is successful or if it fails. Okay, that was successful. Okay, so out of these four scenarios, it seems to me that 3 of them work and 1 of them doesn't work. The one that doesn't work is when the current buffer is not the only buffer and the target file name does not match the current buffer. So what I want to do to avoid all this tedious manual testing is I want to have test cases for each of these 4 scenarios. So right now you can see we do have one for the current buffer is the only buffer and the current buffer is empty. And then we have one for current buffer is only buffer and current buffer is not empty. And we have actually another one for when it's not empty. Okay, so I'm already having a problem. I'm finding this test file too confusing. These test names are like
Very Pythonic.
very Pythonic. My biggest problem right at this very moment is, see here, test current buffer is only buffer at blah, 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 blah. Like I can't tell what this test is about. So let's figure out what we can do about this. I've been using ChatGPT's help throughout all of this. So let's ask it. Let's do this a little bit different, actually. Okay. I find the above 2 test methods really okay. I find the names of the above 2 test methods really hard to understand without what can I do about this? I'm not necessarily expecting a high quality answer, but it'll at least give us a starting point. Okay. I'm just going to tell it it's PyTest. Okay. It's asking me about a general naming convention. I'm going to say not yet established. For number 2, I'm going to say hopefully self-explanatory. For 3, no. For sure. Yeah, this isn't super high quality information. It's like, I wish there were a way. One thing I do like about RSpec is the ability to make tests kind of hierarchical. And these tests, tests in general, I think are kind of hierarchical. Like we have these 4 scenarios, they're grouped into groups of 2. I want a way to convey that. Maybe I can just do it in a different file. That's how I can achieve what I want. Okay, so let's try that. I'll create a new file called current buffer is only buffer test. I'll copy everything from here. But I'll only keep these tests. Oh, those are the only tests that exist. Okay. Okay. So now I can get rid of current buffer is only buffer because that's explained by the file name. Okay, current buffer is empty. Current buffer is not empty expected contents. I don't know what that means, but I'll deal with that in a second. Okay, looks like I have an explanatory comment here. So When current buffer is the only buffer and the current buffer is not empty, assert that a new tab matching the file name contains the expected contents. Okay. Let's say new tab contains expected contents. That's a little bit better. And maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do a double underscore to signify that those are two separate things.
You can nest functions also, just like in Ruby.
Oh, well, let's do that. Okay. Okay. Wonderful. There. Okay, just to make sure Mike's not full of shit, I'm going to run this and see if it works.
I could tell you that.
Okay, 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 okay. Okay, can you hear me now? You can? Well, I can't hear any of you.
We could hear you the whole time.
Okay, now I can hear you.
Yeah, we figure you're okay.
Okay. Bear with me one moment while I continue to collect myself. I somehow unplugged my camera. One second.
I cannot unhear the okay.
I think we've got an episode name.
Did it start repeating okay over and over?
Oh,
It
yeah.
did. Yeah, it's always what happens. Oh, I think I need to go to Logitech Brio, start video. I'm slowly narrowing down what's causing these issues. This has happened multiple times, as at least Jonathan knows. You've been present for one of these mishaps before. And I thought it was like my whole computer crashing, but I've started to say, no, fuck you, computer. I'm not going to restart. And I found that if I unplug certain peripherals, I'm able to recover, as just demonstrated. So anyway, I'll sort that out more later. But apparently the issue is not that I'm like having a total computer crash. It's maybe an issue with my camera. Not sure. Anyway, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Test current buffer's not empty, expected left parentheses.
Yeah, you forgot your parens and filed on line 32.
Line 32. Oh, yeah, I did.
It ain't Ruby.
It ain't Ruby. Okay, wonderful. Okay, so I'm going to do this. That still runs. Okay.
So it sees it as two tests. Huh?
Oh, yeah, apparently so. Weird. So what if we like make one of them fail? Whoops. What? That seems weird.
Well,
Huh?
well, no, because you're not putting you're in Python, right? You have to have parens. So that statement is a function and then the value false.
No.
But so you need to wrap you need to have it's isn't it like self dot assert and then open paren.
Oh, okay. Um, I'm so Okay, hang on a second. I'm totally lost now. So let me do something real quick. I'm gonna undo this nesting. And then I'm gonna do
No, but Jason, your assert statements there, that's valid Ruby, that's not valid Python. You have to have parens and it has to be self dot assert.
really?
Uh-huh.
Huh. Okay. Well, hang on a second. This this is interesting. Okay. No, but this code, as far as I know, was working. Let me try another experiment. Assert true equals false. Interesting. Okay.
GPT is telling me that a PyTest doesn't recognize nested functions as separate tests.
Okay. I'm going to come back to that because right now I'm just trying to understand the assertion syntax. Okay. So I'm going to go back to this older test. And I'm going to say PyTest, run that one. Oh, and now weird stuff is happening. Okay. Everything's falling apart.
That's when the show gets the best.
Okay. I'm going to do what I like to do when I get confused, which is just blow away everything and revert back to a working state. Okay. Do my tests run? Whoops. They do. Okay.
But I think that they pass because nothing is being called on an assert that would raise an exception. So they pass by virtue of the fact that your syntax is incorrect.
Interesting. Okay. So I'm going to change this from equals to not equals. And I don't even know if this test file is running. Like, let's
Yes.
just
So yeah, just hear me out. Just change it to self dot assert, make it a paren function call, and then put false in there.
okay. So like self dot assert false like that.
Just like that.
Okay. Okay, but I don't know if that happened just now. They all passed because of that syntax or because this test file actually isn't getting executed. So let me ascertain that.
Yeah,
Hi,
put some invalid syntax in there and see if it blows up.
okay. So this says invalid syntax around the self.assert, but let's go back now. If I run the original version of this, the original version doesn't even pass. Okay. So I got more problems than I realized. let me fix this, I suppose. OpenAI API response content. I need to fix this. How do I fix this? GPT plugin package. I think that's what it needs to be. From GPT plugin package. Yeah. Okay. So first, before anything else, let me figure out how to include this in what gets run when I do this. Because there shouldn't be only 6 tests running. There should be 13 tests running. And I don't know how to make that happen. Okay, so we know who to ask though. Why doesn't test.py get run when I do this? Is it located there? Yes. Yes. I don't know. How would I know that? No, I don't think so. By the way, I told ChatGPT in the custom instruction setting that every time I ask it a question, it should ask me questions back. That's why it always asks me questions back.
Dude, can you share that prompt?
Yeah. Trying to think of a good way to share it. I mean, that's the whole idea, is just add something in the custom instructions that says, when I ask you a question, ask me questions back to give me a better answer. Okay. Sorry, were you able to, is that good, Mike?
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, we can check this file for errors. All right, let's do that. Huh. Oh, tests. Okay. Returns nothing, which means there's no errors. Oops. Okay, I'm going to tell ChatGPT about this. Oh. Oh. Okay. So that's an interesting idea. Plugin package. Okay, it has to be suffixed in test. Also, tests.py is not a great file name anyway. So let's just rename this to like code block test. Okay. Okay, now if we do this, do we get 13 tests that run? We do. Wonderful. Okay, although we do get a warning. Test failure request. I don't know what this means. I'm not even going to bother to think about it. I'm just going to tell ChatGPT, say, what's this warning? Test classes. Oh, test failure request message. I don't even know what this is, so let's look that up. Test failure request message. It seems to be interpreting this file as some kind of a test. Okay. Here's the file. PyTest seems to be interpreting this object as a test, even though it's not. Okay. I guess I'll just add this annotation.
You also need parens at the end of line 2.
Oh, wonder how it was ever getting away without that. PyTest is not defined. Oh, I'll probably need to do import PyTest. Okay. Well, now we still get the same message. Okay, I'm going to deal with one problem at a time here. So this passes with a warning. Oh, I don't even want to commit that. Okay, so just changing this line and renaming the file made it so the entire test suite gets run. I just want to commit that by itself in the spirit of atomic commits. Okay. Get entire test suite running. Okay. Now we can deal with this annoying test failure request message issue. So this test failure request message class is used where? It's used here. When we send a test result to GPT, it's sent via a test failure request message. I'm trying to think if I can rename this to something that's not prefixed with the word test. I don't want to, because it feels wrong to have to compromise my naming to have a less clear name just because PyTest is so stupid that it thinks anything prefixed with the word test is a test. So I don't want to do that. Let's try this again and see what happens. I'm going to tell ChatGPT that I still get that same issue. When I do that, I still get this. Let's see what it says about that.
Are you specifying the file to run the PyTest on?
I am not. Oh, I can add test equals false? Okay. That seems like kind of janky, but I'll give it a try. It apparently worked. Okay. Well, good enough, I guess. Okay, now we can finally get back to the original. No, we can't actually. Okay. I was going to say we can get back to the original issue, but we still haven't even gotten to the bottom of this assertion issue.
Jason, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
You're annoyed by Python conventions, but you're a Rails developer. So I'm just wondering, like, what's the diff?
Oh, because I'm okay with Rails conventions, but not Python conventions.
I mean, it just seems, yeah.
Yeah, well, maybe I'm just annoyed by conventions I'm not used to.
That's fair. I was just wondering where that was coming from.
Yeah, I bet if I had been coming from the other direction, I would think Rails conventions are dumb. Okay, so now I'm going to run this code block test. And we do, in fact, get an assertion error. So, Mike, I believe this is valid Python syntax.
That's very interesting.
Okay. Well, I suppose we've gotten to the bottom of that. And I wish I hadn't, but I noticed one other thing. I thought I saw that one test class inside the test directory, but I guess I was hallucinating. Okay. I gotta stop taking LSD before I start these. Okay, editor test.py. I'm trying to get back to that test that we were working with a minute ago. Test editor. Insert code block. Okay, here we are. Finally, we're back here to where we started. And now that we've sorted out all of our issues, we can get back to work on organizing these files. So I'm going to run this file. Repassed as expected. So I'm going to separate this into two. In order to not waste time, I'm just going to say test foo. Yes. Repassed. Okay. Okay, and now I'm going to say assert false. Nothing. Assert true equals false. Okay, and now I'm going to go back to the way it was at the start. And I'm going to say assert true equals false. So it seems to not like the nesting. Unfortunately. But just as a last-ditch effort, I'm going to say, can I nest test methods in PyTest? Yeah, I don't think this is what I'm after. Okay, separate test files it is, I suppose. Okay, so I want a test file that makes it clear that we're testing matters related to the current buffer being the only buffer.
I believe you can also class them, separate them by class. Have a define a class that would separate out the contexts.
But does that get me anything? I'm having trouble seeing where that gets us.
You could have a classed test current buffer, and then in that class.
Oh, you mean like multiple classes in the same file?
Yeah, and then the functions would be is only buffer and current buffer is empty. I don't know if that gets you closer.
Yeah, maybe
to-
that's not a bad idea, actually. Okay, yeah. All right. Class, current,
and it may have to be prefixed with test.
yeah, test current buffer is only buffer. Yeah. Okay. See what happens when I do that. Okay, and just as a sanity check, assert false. Ah,
Oh, I think that function needs to be prefixed with a test as well.
oh, okay. Okay. Wait, no, this is no attribute buffers. Oh. This is starting to get annoying. Okay. I'm gonna get ChatGPT's help. Oh wait, I do see this self business here, but let's see this. How would I wrap this in a class?
Hmm. Yeah, you may have to pass self into those tests, into
Okay.
the functions.
And this is involving like the very topmost stuff also. So I'm gonna go all the way back to the earliest state. And I'm gonna tell it more specifically what I want.
Jason, one other thing, your test class should descend from test case, from a PyTest test case in order for it to actually
Okay.
behave correctly.
Okay. Well, I want to tell it, I want to organize these tests in two groups. One for when the current buffer is the only buffer. And one for when the current buffer is not the only buffer. Help me do this. Okay, this is looking somewhat promising, I suppose. Just going to delete what I have now and replace it with this. Okay, does not work. Partly because of this. I'll just delete this for a second. Okay, that passes. Now, if we do assert false, does it actually fail? It does. Okay, wonderful. Okay, test current buffer is only buffer. Okay. Okay, see you later, Ben. Thanks for coming. Yeah, and if anybody has to drop off, totally understandable. We're at about an hour. I'm going to keep going because I'm mad at this program and I want to make some actual progress before we sign off. Okay, so what did I just do? I think all I did was I moved some of the tests in this class-based structure. And ChatGPT has a bad habit of giving empty white space by itself in a line. Okay. Before I commit, I'm going to run all the tests again. Okay, we're still good. Okay, so now I need some tests for when the current buffer is not the only buffer. Because our failure scenario was when the current buffer is not the only buffer and the target buffer is not the current buffer. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Scenario. Current buffer is not the only buffer and the target buffer is not the current buffer. Expect, oh, I know, we're going to assert that there's a tab that matches the current file name that has the same contents. Okay, assert that there's a tab open that matches the target file name and which has the correct contents. Okay. So I'm gonna tell ChatGPT to fill in the comment. And let's see how good of a job it does. Okay. So let's see what we have here. Current content, I am current, okay. Current buffer equals current content. All right. And we insert a code block with the file, with the target file name, self.code block. There's too many variables and all that. Let's hard code more of this stuff so it's more clear. So target file name, we can just replace that with hard coded target.rb. Okay. And then, target file path. Okay, I guess we still need that. Okay. And then what's self.code block? Yeah, let's change that. Let's change that to I am target. Okay. Okay, so this is a little more clear now, I think. We insert the code block, target.rb, I am target. And we assert that the current file name is target.rb and the contents are I am target. Okay, and we want to remove current.rb and target.rb. And I'm also going to unhard code this. Okay, now let's run this, and my expectation, if we did everything right, which I'll be surprised if I did, my expectation would be that this test fails, but it actually passes. Okay, well, that's surprising. It must be that the test has been written incorrectly. All right. Well, let's figure out what's going on. When the target file name is target, let's just do this. Let's carry out this test exactly. I am current. Okay. Say this is current.rb. Yes. Now we'll say give me a file called target.rb with the contents I am target. This makes me think, did we start off with the right starting state in this test? I don't think we did. Because we're supposed to start off with the target tab already having contents. Yes. Okay, good. So we need to change this. Change this. Okay, this test is wrong. The test is. All right, see you, Jonathan. Thanks for coming.
Good luck.
Thanks. The test is supposed to start with target.rb having some contents. The point of the test is that when we call insert code block, and change the contents of the target.rb buffer, the target.rb buffer contains the right contents. Let's see what changes it gives us. Okay. As far as I can tell, that looks good. So let's replace this stuff with this and see what happens. We do get a failure. Ah, there it is. It's the same failure we get when we really run it. It only took us an entire hour to get here. But hey, now that this is done, we have it forever. So that's great. I'm really happy about this. Now let's finally fix the bug. Okay, we get this error, which is the error I was expecting. Help me fix it. And then I'll give it the I'll give it the editor file. Okay, so let's see something. It says it's something to do with the attempt to save. So if I do W exclamation point target.rb, what happens? No, that works just fine. Okay, so I'll say, can that be right? Because when I open, say, hello .rb in Vim, and then do :w exclamation point hello.rb, it works just fine. Let me make sure that's actually true. Hello.rb. Hello. Save. Hello.rb. Oh, wait, what if I go to a different tab? Whoops. Okay, w hello.rb. Yes. Yeah. Okay. I say, no, I think the problem is that we're not switching to the target buffer before we attempt to save the target file. Okay, I don't love this code because it seems pretty complicated, but I will test it out to see if it works.
So one of my favorite prompts is to ask it to make Python code more Ruby-esque.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that gives the same error anyway. Is it the same? Okay. Is this actually the same test failing? Let me make sure. Line 70. Yeah. And maybe we should make our insert code block method match. So like, okay, if the buffer file name is open. And what was it doing before? I don't see anything that's actually switching to the other buffer. Oh, maybe, I don't know. Okay, let's find that out. What would be the command to switch to a different buffer in general? I'll say specific buffer. Okay, yeah, I don't think it was doing that. Okay, so first, I'm finding this a little bit hard to understand because of the nesting. So let's do this. Instead of this if else, let's do a guard clause. And let's say if not code block, do that and return. See if the tests, except that one, still pass. Looks like they do. Not that that means a ton, because that stuff wasn't covered anyway, but okay. And this is confusing. If not blah, 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 and not blah, blah, blah. That's like confusing. So let's say, let's just get rid of this for a second. Okay, we're putting that stuff in the current buffer. But first we want to switch to the right buffer. Okay, so let's switch to the right buffer. And everything's going to be horribly broken now, but let's give it a spin and see how it's broken. Okay, so we have 4 failed tests, but that's okay, because we're going to go now and write this code anew, but in a more understandable way. This test output is not the easiest to parse. Okay, we have a failure on line 47. Can I, okay, well, first of all, can I do this? Can I do insert code block test? Okay. And then we have a failure on line 76. Can I run it like this? No. Okay. Well, that's fine.
So you're not doing f-string substitution for the file name.
Okay. Oh. I want that, right?
I think so. I'm surprised if that works with single quotes, but I don't know. I get confused because my linter is almost as opinionated as RoboCop.
Well, let's just do double quotes because why not? Same result. Okay. So what does this error say? File exists. Okay. Yeah, I need to figure out how to focus a specific test because this is too confusing. How do I run just this one test? Hmm. Okay. Is there not an easier way? But in the meantime, I'll just run it like that. Okay, one error this time. File exists, add, bang to overwrite. Okay. So we are switching to that buffer. And then we're saving the file. And it seems like it should be fine. Okay, let's tell ChatGPT. And if we don't have this fixed by 10:30, let's say, 9 minutes from now, then I'm just going to call it a night. Not least because my wife will be mad at me if I don't hang it up by then. Okay. Okay. Yeah, let's log self.current file name. What the heck is current file name? Okay. Current file name. Okay. Okay, let's look for that output. Good luck to me finding that. Let's use stars instead of dashes. Let's do a bunch of them. Okay. No idea where that is. Is it possible that it's not even getting there? Okay, we are calling insert code block. Oh, I do have this guard clause. Maybe that's causing a problem. I still don't see all those stars. This is a bit of a mystery. Let's just print these stars right here. Okay, now we see the stars. Okay. If I print the stars here, do we see the stars? Looks like no. Okay. So where does it stop being the case that we see the stars? Seems like no stars. We do see the stars. Okay. We do see the stars. Don't see the stars. At least I don't think so. Let's see. Yeah, no stars. Okay, so it's this line.
Or again, you need to be using double quotes, I think.
You think so?
I mean, that seems like the simplest thing. It could be broken.
Yeah, it seems like that's not it. Self.current file name. What the heck is that?
So
Okay,
that's
no
what you
reason
call.
to,
Oh no, it's an. Sorry.
no reason to hard code that. Okay. Invim.command w current.rb. So we can't save current.rb.
You don't need the colon before the W when you use nvim command.
I don't believe so. No. A buffer. Okay. So this buffer line looks fine. Oh, you know what? Oh, look at this current.rb. Ah, let's do this. rm current.rb. And while we're at it, hello, Jason and other. We were getting an error about it already existing. Ha! Now, okay, it gets deleted, I guess, so no problem. Wow, okay, so that's what that was all about. Okay, but oddly, I don't see the stars. Is that not weird? Like, what's going on with that? Right, Mike? Is that not surprising?
That is surprising.
I put it at the very beginning.
But I think I'm like 0 for 10 in guesses tonight. So
Ha!
I'm just going to shut up now.
Past target buffer. Yeah. I'm going to take this part off and see what happens. Okay, now we see the stars. Well, I guess I'll turn my attention to these other failures for a minute. Okay, no matching buffer for Martin.rb. I feel like I can handle that. And I think that's because, okay, this is the case where the current buffer is the only buffer. Neither the current buffer is empty or it's not. But yeah, there's no, okay. Let's have ChatGPT help us once again. And which line was this for? Line 36. Only this output were like more clear. Okay, there is an error on line 29. No matching buffer for Martin.rb. Okay. Okay. 29, uh-huh. Okay, help me fix this. Check if a buffer with a target file name exists. Okay, I guess we'll try that. All right, it's now 10:30. If this doesn't work, I'm gonna call it a night. And if it does work, I'm also gonna call it a night. Okay. Good. Okay. Hang on, code block is not defined. What's up with that? Oh, just my indentation was wrong. All right. Whoa, 4 passed. Okay. Well, that's something. Let's see if all the tests pass. Okay, all 14 tests pass. Now let's see if we do some manual tests and those pass. I'm not holding my breath, but we'll see. Okay. Give me a file called rick.rb. maybe Rick will write some code here at some point. Give me a file called chase.rb. It didn't put it in a new tab. So that's a bug, but that'll be a bug for next time. All right. Well, thanks everybody for sticking with me on this very long journey, but I feel like we got somewhere. I think what we want to do in the next session will be to write a test that says when we create, for example, rick.rb with some content in it, and then we create chase.rb, it does chase.rb in a new tab. I think that's going to be our next test. Okay, thanks.
Just to let you know, you could
Yeah.
be using PyCharm.
Could be-
PyCharm with Code GPT to write a Vim plugin with Code GPT would be very meta.
Oh yeah. What is that tool called?
It's called Code GPT. It lets you have a chat window with GPT right in the IDE.
Oh yeah, I've seen stuff like that. I don't like the idea of having a chat in the IDE. I don't like, I've used tools like that. Maybe this one works differently, but I've used like the Copilot thing, and I've used another tool that does that. But it seems like there's not enough of a connection and like a two-way awareness between like the code and the chat. You know what I mean? The chat seems too separate.
I've just started using it, but you can like highlight a block of code, right click and ask it questions, ask it to explain the code or improve the code. So there's increasing levels of integration.
Okay.
You could try, I don't know if you've tried Auto GPT with vector memory.
I haven't done anything with Auto GPT yet.
It's kind of similar to what you're attempting here, but that would
Yeah.
be, like he said, kind of meta, because it's kind of like almost the same functionality, but the vector memory would definitely help check the contents
Okay.
I
of
forget
your code.
there's
Yeah.
there's a term for this thing of having AIs talk to AIs to collaborate, but I forget what it's called.
Well, I'll ask ChatGPT what that term is. All right. I'll talk to you guys later.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks.
Hey, everyone.